All right, so now that we have the cab in the garage, just before we put the cab on the frame and try to get a rough idea of where it's gonna go, I'm gonna remove any of the brake lines or fuel lines and the electrical wires that are gonna be in the area that it could get crushed by the cab. I don't wanna mess any of that stuff up because we're gonna be reusing most of those items. So I'm not gonna take off the fuel tank or anything. I'm just gonna try to take all the wires, take everything off. I know the ABS module is in the way, but I don't really know if I wanna fight with that just yet. I'm hoping that it shouldn't be in the way. If we have to take it off, we will. But the fuel lines and some of the brake lines we might take off. It just depends on where they're at and if they're gonna be in the way or not. I wanna leave as much on it because it's less work to do, but I don't wanna ruin anything in the process. So. Alright, so now I have the cab and the front fender just sitting on the frame. I've also got the front cross member here. So I just kind of wanted to get an idea of where exactly everything's going to kind of line up. Up here on the front, the bolt holes are going to be kind of right on the corner of this square tubing. So what I'm thinking about doing is moving all of the mounts, making new mounts on the side, maybe right here, and bolting it more towards the edge. As you can see where that line is right there, that's where the bolt hole is going to be, and it's kind of a little too far to the edge. So not really sure if I explained this to you guys or not, but I really would like to do a cargo bed on the back of the C10, kind of like that work truck look. I really like those when they're lowered. I think they look really sick, and with it being a Tahoe frame that's made to have a ton of weight on it, and even though I'm going to lower the truck, the springs that are going to get put on it, or the airbags, the whole body is made for a really heavy truck, and this truck weighs maybe half. The C10 is going to weigh maybe half, if not less, than the actual Tahoe frame when it's all done, than the Tahoe cab when it's all done. So that cargo bed would add quite a bit of weight, which would be nice to have, but I just really like the way those look. So that's an idea of mine. So I'm just gonna put you guys up for a time lapse right now, and you can watch me do all these measurements. Alright guys, so we are off to pick apart right now. That's what we have here in Nevada. It's kind of just like our scrapyard, junkyard. I realized I'm missing the bottom of all the bushings to hold the cab on the frame. So I have the top mounts to all the way around the Tahoe. The problem is when you put a bolt underneath it and then mount it to the cab, there's nothing stopping the cab from still being lifted off the frame itself. I need a second mount that's underneath the frame that holds the bottom of the bolt. So right now I'm headed to pick apart. I'm gonna grab a couple of those, see if I find anything else that I probably wanna take for the build. But this is a very crucial part that I have to put in the measurements, and it's gonna have to sit inside the frame when I weld it. So I need it now, so that way I make sure that I cut and weld those sections correctly, and then go from there. I really wanna get started on the frame today, so right now it's 10:30. Starting to heat up a little bit. It's already 100 degrees right now, and I'm in a long black sleeve t-shirt. So we're gonna zip on over there, pick them up, and then see what we can do with those. All right guys, here I am at Pick Apart, and I found me a Tahoe here. I just decided to get the one that's higher up so it's easier. So I just unbolted the part that I was talking about. So here's the bolt. This bolt goes into the cab, and this is the part that goes at the bottom of the rail. So you see there's the cab mounts that I have. Well, this piece goes up and pushes it in, so it stops the cab from coming up. So I need about 4 of these for the cab, and then I'm not sure if I'm gonna use them for the bed or not, so I'm just gonna worry on getting these 4 for now. Alright guys, so we're back, and here is the Tahoe mount. This is the bottom mount that we just picked up. And then right here I have the stock mounts. So this piece right here just goes under it. And I'm trying to go back and forth. I'm really torn between which mount to use. These would be overkill just because Tahoes weigh so much more than this cab will. It's not gonna really do much, but I'm not really worried about that. I would actually rather use this just because I know it's stronger and less flexible. If I use these, I'll obviously get new ones. That'll be polyurethane. So I have the exact point that I have to drill my holes, plasma cut them or drill them, whatever I choose to do. The problem is they're so close to the end, there's about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of room. So when, let's say like this piece would slide down in there, when I cut the hole, like if it would fit in there, this piece has to slide up from underneath it, and then the bolt will go in under there. So as you can see here, it would bolt like this. With it being so close to the edge, it's gonna hang over and hit. Or I can make a little notch right here where it can slide in, and then it'll sit perfectly on that piece, which really with a frame this big and this strong, and this is a double lap joint right here, it wouldn't take any structural rigidity out of the frame at all. It wouldn't bend or crack right there or anything. I don't think it'd be a problem, especially if it was only that big. I think it would be just fine if I put a little relief cut in right there. So that way that could just slide in and out. All right guys, so I just want to do a quick update. This is where we're at. I have it on both sides now. So we have the hole on the top, and then the hole underneath. So all of this is really rough. It'll get cleaned up later. I'm not really worried about it. Looking at it, it's still really strong. I'm not worried about this making the frame crack or break or anything like that. I may put gussets on the back sides. So like right here, I'll put a gusset on the outside just kind of to make up for this part. But as you can see in here, there's the two pieces and they actually overlap one another right here. So it's already double wide. As you can see here, this part right here is another section. And you can tell right here, it's a two-piece part where they slide the frames into one another and then weld them together. So this is probably the strongest part of the frame if you decide to cut it anyways. So the reason why this top hole looks huge is because it doesn't actually fit this piece, but there's a collar on the top and that's got to drop in. So as you can tell, that drops in right there. It doesn't look like it just because it comes down to a bend. And then this little piece goes inside the square and that slides up. So it's gonna sit in there just like this. As you can see, I cut out the section so it sits flush underneath there. And then about the perfect amount comes out for the cab like so. And then the cab will sit right on there like that. So it's already done like this for both sides. Now I'm gonna work on cleaning everything back up and we're gonna try and set the cab onto the frame. I gotta do some measurements. I wanna make sure that that cab is sitting perfectly square on here. There is some room for play. I just wanna make sure I get it right before I go cleaning all this up, trying to make it look pretty and stuff. I need to know that that cab's gonna be in the perfect place. Guys can see this is the finished product for the rear cab mount. All this stuff will get cleaned up later. I wanted to make it to where I can bolt it and unbolt it. Even though it unbolts at the cab, I wanted this bar that goes across to be able to unbolt for drive shaft or gas tank or whatever reasons. So this will get plated in the future and I will clean up this stuff down here, but it was just kind of thrown together for the meantime so I can work on the rest of the stuff. So there is a hole down here at the bottom and that lets a cab mount go underneath, so that way the cab can absorb shock both up and down and it's not too rough of a ride. I also put in this battery tray, so it is welded to the frame also, and that'll sit nice and neat underneath the bed of the truck.